Hello, it's Josh here from SBC. Last week we released SBC Magazine issue 136, and one of the key features of that magazine was a deep dive into the service of Demetrio Giotti. Demetrio's been a free tipster with us for the past 3.5 years, and we've been proofing him since 2016. The big news that accompanied the magazine last week is that Demetrio will also be operating as a premium tipster with us moving forward. With all of that in mind, we thought it'd be a really good idea to record a short video, just to have a look at the service, the record, how it all works, the mechanics, and to answer some FAQs that have come in for us over the last week or two. So for those of you who don't know too much about Demetrio, he's a basketball expert. Now we may, when we hear the word basketball, think of the NBA and Michael Jordan, or at least I do. This service is a bit different because it focuses on European basketball, predominantly in Spain and in Italy. As we can see from this long-term performance table here with variable staking, Demetrio has made a 16.33% return on investment since 2016. This is from just under 700 bets. And as you can see for yourself, the strike rate's just under 50%. And with variable staking, 1,340 points has returned 218.83 profit over that time period. So just over 7 years. And the first thing I'd like to show you is how the service has performed annually. So we can see here from the variable staking over the years that the service is remarkably consistent. The number of bets, the strike rate, the stakes, and the profits that have come in have been pretty much level across. Obviously, there'll be small variations that comes with the variance of following any service. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that 2020 had a small loss. Would remind you that that was the full year of COVID-19. So it really did affect all of the global markets in sports betting. So we saw it with football, we saw it with obviously horse racing, which was interrupted, and the markets just didn't seem to work in the same ways than they usually do. As you can also see, the service bounced back as soon as we got back to normality. So did Demetrio. This excellent return over time is exemplified really clearly in this line graph, where we've just got an upward curve. So right from 2016, it just goes up and up and up, and just a really solid service, very consistent. When we talk about this record, 16.33% return on investment, we are talking about Pinnacle prices. Now, this is the sharpest global bookmaker. This is where big money goes in. They have high limits and they have low margins. Their model is really built around turning over as much money as they can. And what Demetrio does is he advises tips purely with Pinnacle. So these are the sharpest lines on all of the markets around the world. And what we will find when we talk about a service like this, you will be able to get better odds if you've got access to soft bookmaker accounts. That comes with the usual caveats that if you take those prices and you keep on profiting from something like European basketball, those operators will look at you. But it's just something to keep in mind. If you have got good accounts available, you can make money following Demetrio Giotti. The other thing that really caught my eye when I was going through the report that Rowan wrote and having a look at the page for Demetrio when I was writing this up was how he's still profitable at the closing line with Pinnacle. Now, this is really important because some of you may not be able to get bets on really quickly. Some of you may want to wait for even higher liquidity. There's lots of different circumstances when following a tipster. So the fact that he still makes an 8.21% return on investment just before the off of all of these games is quite remarkable. As I was saying before, this is the sharpest of lines. All of the money is spoken and Demetrio is still making money at that closing line. So quite a remarkable service and just making profit year in, year out, loads of different metrics. If we take a bit of a deeper dive into how the service works, there's two main bet types. Money lines and handicaps. So the home and the away in this table, that's pretty much a money line. So it's a team to win. These two types of bet they go together very well. they marry up very well. So a handicap bet is likely to be closer to even money because you're giving a team a head start or you're giving a team to catch up an amount. And so the markets are adjusted with different lines to make them quite even. What we can see here in this table is that the strike rate for these type of bets is very, very high, approaching 60%, and it drives a good amount of profit. What we will find when we look at this type of bet in a record like this is that the handicap bets will be very good for keeping variance low, very good for turning over money, very good for keeping those losing runs down, which is really important when you're looking at the other half of the bet types. So with the money lines, as you can see, the strike rate drops here to about 40%. But what we can see is that it drives a lot of the profit. So what we've got here, we've got the slow, steady handicaps. They're turning over the money. They're keeping the losing runs down. They're keeping variance low. And then we've got the higher priced money line bets, and they're driving a lot of the profit. So they complement each other very well. This is summarised too in the odds banding. So as you can see here, it's the same story that the bets up to 2.61. So these top three bands, they're not driving a lot of profit. They are positive. They are driving ROI, but they've got very high strike rates, and they're going to keep any losing runs down. And then these higher price bets, which are more likely to be the money line bets, 2.62 and upwards, they've got very high ROIs of 39.58% and 28.87% respectively. So really good service with different facets to it, and very good for driving capital growth. I'll get onto capital growth next, but what I wanted to do very quickly was just have a look at our Bet Brokers Guide. This is something that we've worked on a lot this year. Obviously, with bookmaker restrictions becoming an ever bigger problem for anyone who bets successfully, and especially for those who are betting at stages 4 and 5 on their betting journey, having an alternative like Bet Brokers to get into those sharp bookmakers is a really good tool to have in your armory. We can't give specific advice for bet brokers as it's different depending on which country you're in, which jurisdiction, what the laws are in those country or jurisdiction, and what the access to sharp bookmakers looks like. What this does, it gives you some checklists of what to look for, what to avoid, some of the things that you should be thinking about when you're choosing a bet broker. And we also do have 2 in-depth interviews with 2 bet broker options. We can't give cast iron recommendations for anybody. We have got some personal experiences, but due to different countries and everything else, we have to be careful about doing that. So we'll leave this quite open-ended for you to choose for yourself, but we can provide a list of questions here that you should be asking when you're looking at these bet brokers, and obviously we've got answers from 2 of them. Just to go back very quickly now then to the service, and I wanted to have a look at return on capital. This is what I personally think this service is perfect for. We recommend a 50-point bank, and that's based on all of our Monte Carlo simulations. That's based on the odds that we're betting at, the expected losing runs. And as you can see from this table here, based on historical performances, you're going to make a very solid return on capital with Demetrio Giotti. So the same as with the profit and loss, every year has been positive, and over the lifetime from 2016, 437%. It's a return on capital from an initial bank. So we've just got a solid service here that's really good for every bettor. Anyone we'd suggest maybe stages 3 if you're getting started with using sharp bookmakers, and definitely for people at stage 4 and 5. Now, if we just come on to the final bit that I wanted to talk about, and that's the mechanics of getting these bets on and everything else. So with Demetrio becoming a premium service, we've limited the amount of people who can follow to 50. There's a couple of reasons for this. Mainly, we want to protect prices. So when Demetrio was a free tipster, we had hundreds of people following him through the SBC. And what you will find when you've got that many people following, even if they're betting to relatively small stakes, there will be moving lines. So what we want to do is just protect those prices. 50 might seem very, very conservative, and it might prove to be that. We wanted to start there, see how it all works, and then we can maybe open up more spaces if we find that prices don't get affected too badly. The price for Demetrio Giotti for the upcoming season, so from August 2023 through to August 2024, is £500 plus VAT. That's just under £10 a week. So this is, as I was saying before, a service designed probably for those people who are staking quite heavily, stages 4 and 5, and you'd be able to cover that subscription quite quickly then, and then you'd just be operating with pure profit. Now, the reason I mentioned that cost there is I'm just going to come back up to here now and talk about Pinnacle for the last time. So we mentioned that Demetrio is only tipping using Pinnacle prices. The second part of that is he waits for liquidity to be at 4 figures on Pinnacle. So it's dealt with in dollars, so that'd be a minimum of $1,000 liquidity per bet. So that means if you want to bet $1,000 on one of Demetrio's tips immediately after they're released, that's what will be available to you. Now, you might not be able to get the price straight away, but as I've said before, you'll be able to back it probably with even higher liquidity just before the off, and you're getting a real good edge at one of the sharpest lines. So this is all the information about Demetrio. I've probably missed some things out, and if there are any more questions that you'd like to ask, please do get in touch. I will mention one more thing that's just popped into my mind. 80% of bets do shorten in price, so that just gives you an idea of how sharp Demetrio is and how often he's beating the market. Like I said before, any questions, please get in touch. You can do that at SBC Info on Twitter. You can email me at josh@smartbettingclub.com, or you can get in touch with Pete through the usual channels. And we'll be recording videos like this again. So if there's anything that's jumping out at you, a service that you'd like me to have a look at, maybe do some practical videos, please get in touch and ask for those too, because I can do whatever you want me to. So that's Demetrio Giotti, an excellent service, a European basketball expert, perfect for many advanced bettors, probably people at stages 3, 4, and 5, but something to look at for anybody who's interested in making some solid profits in a market where you can get liquidity with Pinnacle. So thank you for listening and watching, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon.